Hey YouTube, it's Charlie from Reader Turned Writer. Today I am talking about how to set writing goals and actually achieve them. We are in the middle of the year now, and like many other people, I am looking at my yearly goals and reevaluating, looking at how I have done so far, and if I am going to be able to reach my yearly goals. Learning about goals is something that I have done my whole life, everywhere from church to school. Everyone wants to tell you how to set goals so that you'll actually achieve them. And I've learned all of the stuff, how to write down goals, how to write down goals where you can see it, read your goal every day, put them in certain terms, make your goals on a timeline that are measurable, all of those things. But honestly, I have never been super fantastic at setting goals and achieving them. I have achieved goals, but there were a lot of things that I would keep trying to do and then I would just fail, and I would say something like, well, it's just not for me, or I just must not actually be a writer because I can't finish a draft, or things like that. I had a fault in the system somewhere with setting goals and I didn't really know where. Since I've gotten married, and especially kind of in the last year or so, I have actually learned a lot of things that have helped me with goal setting and actually achieving the goals that I am setting, even when they are really hard goals to reach, like finishing a draft when you don't think that you're a very creative person. And so today I just wanted to share with you 4 of those tips plus a bonus idea at the end. And hopefully one or maybe all of these ideas or tips will speak to you and help you to better set and achieve goals. I do, of course, have a bullet page for it, so I'm going to jump right into my bullet journal and get talking about these ideas. My first tip is to set goals that are within your power to accomplish. This is so important, especially as an aspiring author. There is so much of the publishing process that is not within our influence, and it does us no good to set goals around those. Instead, we should focus on what is in our power to actually achieve. So instead of saying, I want to get an agent by the end of this year, you could set a goal to have submitted to 30 agents by the end of September. Instead of saying, I want to sell 200 copies of my book on release, you could set a marketing goal to ask 30 influencers to share about the release. Thinking about what kind of goals you set and making sure that they are within your influence really helps keep you from getting down on yourself, because everything is within your control. You might not get an agent this year or the next or even the next, but that is out of your control. No matter how hard you work or even how good your book is, you still might not get an agent. But what you do to work towards eventually getting an agent is in your control. How hard you work towards some thing that is out of your power, what you do to reach that is within your control, and that's what you should be setting goals for. When we get down on ourselves, that's when we end up giving up on our goals. Focus on what is in your power to do and keep plugging away at those goals. My next tip is to focus on the journey, not the destination. Most writers want to get published. Most writers dream of people reading their books and loving them. Most writers would absolutely love for the books to be made into a movie, or make it onto a bestseller list, or get $1 million advance. All of these things are things that I would love. Those are destinations, and focusing on the destination will lead to frustration, discouragement, and maybe even burnout. Ironically, focusing on the journey is what helps us to ultimately reach the destination we have in mind. When I set my goals, I am focused on getting better in small ways. I focus on the small but consistent steps. Rather than focusing on getting published, I am focusing on making my book and my writing skill better. I write every day. I watch AuthorTube. I read craft books and self-help books. I submit my writing to others and take feedback from those people about how I can improve. I edit and then edit some more and then edit some more. All of this will help me to ultimately get published one day, and I firmly believe that I will get published. I don't know how long it will take. It might take 10 years, but I do believe I can get published. But while I have that destination in mind, my focus is not on that destination. I don't have a set timeline for when I want to accomplish those things or when I want to get published, and I know that I have a long journey ahead of me. By focusing on the small steps right ahead of me rather than on the long-term destination, it keeps me excited, focused on my progress, and it helps me to not feel overwhelmed or discouraged. My third tip is to set smaller goals within your bigger goals. This is really helpful for keeping perspective. What I do is I set year-long goals at the beginning of the year. And obviously, these are based off of my really long-term goals like getting published, which might not happen for a long time. Then I look at how that breaks down over each of the 12 months and base my monthly planning session off of that. As I set goals each month, I am able to look at how I've done so far and adjust accordingly. I also break those up into weekly or daily goals at times. For example, I have big goals for writing for the year. The way I break that down is by making progress on my writing projects each day. I have a goal to write on my book daily for a very small amount of time. Because it's a small amount of time, I am sure to work on it daily, but because I'm doing it daily, that really adds up and helps me reach my yearly goal by doing a little bit every day. I also try to break those up into a goal each month. Each month I have something that I am aiming for to having finished. For example, this month I am working on my editing my third draft, so I'm on my fourth draft, and I want to finish the revisions this month. It's not going to happen, so I'm going to have to finish next month, but that's kind of how it works. I do this with reading as well. I have a goal to read between 10 and 12 books a month. I know that this is roughly one book every 3 days, which makes it really easy for me to keep track of how I'm doing as I finish a book during the month. Setting smaller goals takes a big goal, or a destination like in the previous tip, and makes it much more manageable. It helps you to focus on the journey and it helps you to take small steps towards a big accomplishment. My fourth tip is more application based and it has really helped me to achieve my goals more recently. And that is to set up systems to help you to attain your goal. Since learning about systems probably about a year ago, I have been convinced that they are the best way to achieve any goal. The goal is what you want to do, and the system is how you actually do that or achieve your goal. Let's say, for example, you have a goal to read 6 classics during 2020. You break that up into a smaller goal of reading a classic every 2 months, or half a classic each month. There are a lot of different systems you could set up to make sure you achieve your goal. You could pick a classic, and you might read half of it first before you read any other book each month. So then each month you're reading half of a classic as your very first book of the month so you don't get sidetracked by other books. Or let's say you want to read a classic that month. You could look at how many chapters there are and break it up to see how many chapters, if you read a little bit every day, how many chapters would it take to finish that book? Let's say it's 2 chapters, so then you read 2 chapters a day while you're reading other books. That's usually what I do. Or you could listen to it as an audiobook while you're reading other physical copies of other books. The idea is that the system helps you work on your goals without having to think about them all the time. I know for me, what would happen often and still happens sometimes is I set a goal, I write it down, and then I leave to go do my day-to-day daily stuff, and I totally forget about the goal. And then I go back and I look at my goals and I go, oh, I didn't do that. And it's literally just because I forgot that I even had that goal. And I've even tried things like writing it down and putting it up on the mirror so I could see it every day, and I just don't, it doesn't work for me. Having systems really helps me because then it is worked into my daily life. So like some of my systems include doing things at the same time every day. So I write first thing in the morning every day. That way I don't forget to write and I'm making progress on my goals every single day. Another thing I will do is I'll put things on my to-do list. Like one of the things on my to-do list is quality time with each of my kids. So that when I'm looking at my day, because I actually do use my to-do list a lot and I look at it a lot. So as I'm looking at my to-do list, I don't forget that one of my goals is to spend time with my children, even though life gets busy. And those things work really well for my personality. I'm very orderly and I like to use lists and things, but I know that some people will write with other people because they're social and they want to get their writing in, so they'll set up writing times with friends or they'll have someone who checks in with them after they've written, things like that. There are a lot of different systems that you can use, and if you aren't able to achieve a goal, it's really good to look at your system because you might just not have the right system to be achieving that goal yet. In this way, you don't need to feel like you are constantly setting goals and failing at them. What you are actually doing is setting goals so that you can know what direction you are headed in and then learning how to get there by trying out different systems. This works really great, especially if you are able to look at goals monthly or quarterly, because then you can consistently review how you're doing with your goals. And this leads me to my bonus little idea, which isn't really a tip, but it is to set goals with a growth mindset in mind. And a growth mindset just means that you believe that you can get better at what you decide you want to get better at. Sometimes you will fail at reaching a goal. And it will happen if you set goals often, then you will often fail at reaching a goal that you set. That is something that everyone experiences. But rather than saying something like, "Oh, I'll never learn to do this. This just isn't for me. I might just not be the kind of person who reads classics or writes novels," or whatever your goal is, you can take your failure and you can use it to move forward and become better at it. When you don't hit your goal, instead of seeing yourself as a failure, see it as a sign that you are doing something wrong. Something in your system isn't working. It might take a lot of trial and error, or it might take longer for you to get used to the system that you are having. Either way, failing to reach a goal is simply an opportunity for you to try something different to become better. Failing to achieve a goal is actually great as long as you can adjust, as long as you can take what you learned from that failure and move forward. Now I want to hear from you. Let me know how your goals are going this year and what helps you to achieve goals. I would really love to hear from you in the comments below. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching my video. I will see you in the next one.